There is an old saying, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. One of the biggest names in Australian comedy in the late 1980s and through much of the 1990s was that of the Doug Anthony All-Stars. They disbanded for a while and many of their fans wished that they would get back together. I am one of those fans and I have hounded one of those members of the band quite regularly for that to happen. I am taking absolutely no credit for the fact that they are now back together, but it is nice to know that the Doug Anthony All-Stars are back together, if nice is the right word. What is now going to happen is I'm going to talk to them and we're going to see just what happens when I potentially lose control of my radio show. Welcome, the Doug Anthony All-Stars, Tim Ferguson, Paul McDermott and Paul Livingston, a.k.a. Flacco. Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Chris. How are you?
Chris Coleman.
I'm very well delighted to have you on the program. And I guess it's welcome back to the Doug Anthony All-Stars.
Yes, it's a warm, wonderful welcome.
Paul,
hello, people of Wagga and New South Wales.
Now, look, Paul, we've seen appearances from the Dougs over the past year or so in many and varied places. And as Tim, I'm sure, has told you, I've hounded him on Twitter saying it's not a national tour until you've done Wagga Wagga. So Wagga Wagga as part of the inaugural comedy festival. You've been here a few times before. What are your memories of the place?
Oh, I love it. It's just one of the most beautiful places on earth. I think when I retire, I'm going to move to Wagga Wagga, both sides of town, and just really take it in. Autumn is just the most beautiful time to be in that part of the world. It's really quite splendid. Champs-Élysées don't even compare to the wonderful broad streets of Wagga, those early autumnal days.
And of course, that's why you're coming in the middle of winter for the comedy festival.
Well, we have to come in the middle of winter because we've got this fellow who's got the MS, and we can't travel in the summer months because it affects his motor skills and motor coordination. So he has, he can't operate his little legs and hands and so on.
I can't operate my little legs, my little hands. They just don't work. So we can only travel in winter. Although we're going to do a smashing Canadian tour for 4 months of winter, which is great.
So we might be touring without Tim maybe in the summer months if we can convince Quentin to jump on board and play Tim's role. But
let me ask you, Paul Livingston, what's it like to be now officially? I know you did a lot of work with Doug Anthony All-Stars back in the day, but what's it like to be now an official member of the Doug Anthony All-Stars?
Well, I think you've got some idea after listening to these two go on what it's like for me in the van on the road. It's not very pleasant, especially for a man of my years and my intelligence. I'd forgotten just how puerile the Doug Anthony All-Stars were. And it's not good for my image, but you get to an age where your image doesn't matter at all because you look in the mirror and you see what other people see. And it's nothing because once you pass the age of 50, you're invisible.
No one cares. No one cares about you.
I don't need mirrors in the house. I just shave to nothing.
We did think for a while that when we replaced the previous guitarist, and that was always we were shuffling through guitarists a lot in the early days before we settled on one fella who became a little bit more popular than most of the early guitarists. He was with us for a bit longer, a few more years. But we had the opportunity, I think, to go for a younger, more sedate guitarist, something sort of attractive. We even thought we maybe cross-gender and
with musical skills,
and someone with musical skills. But then Livingston was hanging around, didn't have much to do, and so we slung the bone his way. Not something we're regretting at this point. It's been
not much meat on that bone.
Not a lot of meat on that bone.
And he was starting to have conversations with Flacco in his head, so it was like talking to Smeagol. I was talking to Smeagol or Gollum. You never knew who was going to pick up the phone.
My precious indeed. Tim, great to have you on the program again. How good has it been, or conversely, how bad has it been, being back on the road with the Doug Anthony All-Stars?
Well, it depends on your frame of reference. So let's just put the frame of reference aside for a second. It's been great fun. We've had a ball. Being a Doug Anthony All-Star has always been just a licence to have fun, to say whatever we like, and to treat each other with as little respect as we can possibly garner. So we've had a ball, and of course the back of the Tarago is, well, actually we can't squeeze in that far, but so it's pristine, but the other seats in the Tarago are stained with love, affection and rock credibility.
Indeed. On ABC Riverina Mornings, I have the Doug Anthony All-Stars, Tim Ferguson, Paul McDermott and Paul Livingston. They are appearing in Wagga Wagga as part of the inaugural comedy festival in June this year at the Civic Theatre. Fellas, what's the other shows like now compared to what people would have seen on previous tours?
There's a bit less dancing.
What, approximately 1/3 less dancing? Would
About
that-
1/3 less dancing. I got to shoulder a lot of the responsibility for the dance moves now.
I think you might make that 2/3.
I'm basically doing all the dancing myself, and it can be a little bit trying at times, a little bit hard. There's a lot of criticism from the choreographers, who now get to sit back and just see what I'm doing. And really, I only had one move that I taught the other two boys back in the day, which was stolen from the Shadows, Cliff Richard's backing band. That's all we had, a bit of a box step, but we dressed it up and made it look like it was more interesting. But none of us were real dancers.
Talk
but,
about strictly ballroom. That's McDermott.
But a lot less movement, and so we're focusing more on the intelligent comedy that we became known for in the in the late 70s. The more cerebral sort of stuff that we're playing with at this point in time.
Yeah, we'll just take that as official. I know you love to spin stuff out, and we'll just take that as official then.
Oh, yeah. And really, the show, there's not much of a script as usual. We just find ourselves on
Speak
stage.
for yourself.
And it launches. Well, of course, Paul Livingston is always organised.
Well rehearsed.
Yes.
I do the same thing every night.
Yeah.
You boys just go off.
But you're at the centre, and we, dance metaphorically around you. But, we don't have much.
Should we talk about the real issues?
We're
Should we
very
talk
good
about
at
the real issues?
metaphorical dancing. Though.
Should we talk about the real issues? The real issues at the moment, Chris. One of the real issues is Tim's MS and the extraordinary litany of mind expanding and wondrous drugs he seems to be on to cope with that particular ailment, which has opened doorways of perception to Tim that many of us and many people in the audience find closed. We can't actually understand a lot of what he's saying, but it seems to have a cadence that encourages laughter at the end. So this is one of the problems. And from night to night, those doors of perception that Tim is happily travelling along
It's a
due
long
to
corridor.
the Tech Fedora, a very, very lovely drug that he's been given, a cutting-edge MS drug.
Very powerful brain drug.
It seems to have diminished in some way a lot of Tim's thought processes that would regard the audience as being important in any way, shape or form. And he seems to go on these flights of fantasy, these stream of consciousness sort of monologues that leave Mr. Livingston, the guitarist, and myself in the shadow, and the audience, very kindly, I think, because he's in a wheelchair, have a good giggle. So it's very nice. We're a very decent country, Australia.
Yeah, basically, I'm not completely in charge.
Were you ever completely in charge, Tim?
No.
Who is in charge, or who was in charge back in the day?
The man they call the generator. That's myself.
Yeah.
Responsible for most of the work. Have the title now, the Marvellous Mr. Me. Nurse Paul, as primary carer, has also been the name that's given to me.
I'm Nurse Paul, the secondary carer.
I have a number of titles.
Excellent. Paul Livingston, you have the guitar with you.
I do.
I'm now going to take the big chance and ask, can we have a song from the Doug Anthony All-Stars this morning?
Sure, I'd like to ask what song
Which
they'd
song?
like to do.
Hey, boys, which song do you want to do? Contemporary? New one? Old one?
Well, why don't we
What'd
do
you
the new one we were singing before?
Oh, yeah, Chris, there's been a lot of dilemmas and a lot of horror in the world at the moment. I think a lot of people, especially people my age, are finding it very difficult to deal with. And finding the socio-political sort of situation globally is quite tricky, trying to understand it. And so we tried to write a little song that put, in a simple way, put a lot of the tensions that are happening in the world at the moment in song form so that people could understand maybe the incredible tensions between the East and the West, globally, between the religions and I suppose the way the world seems to be a little bit fractured at the moment. So this is our attempt, anyway, to encapsulate that in song form. I got a gun, he's got a gun, she's got a gun, yeah, we've all got guns, and we're gonna come around to your place, and we'll shoot you. Ooh, I got a gun, he's got a gun, she's got a gun, yeah, we've all got guns, and we're gonna come around to your place, and we'll shoot you. Ooh, oh me, oh my, that's just the way of the world. Don't look in my eyes, it makes you harder to kill. Ooh, I got a gun, he's got a gun, she's got a gun. Yeah, we've all got guns, and we're gonna come around to your place, and we'll shoot you. Ooh.
And that's for the people of the Riverina, just to inspire them to move forward to peace. Ponies, horses, size doesn't matter.
So go for your Shetland.
It sure does.
Okay,
We had a stallion called Shetland when I was a kid. We had a Shetland.
He's got it. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. You're witnessing it live now. You're hearing it. You can't actually, because you're not in the studio, you're not seeing it. This is a tech fedora surge. What basically is happening at this point in time is that drug is coating Tim's brain in a wonderful honey syrup, which is like a continual orgasm for him for about 3 minutes. So he's going to be just out of commission, having a good giggle, and his eyes have gone all twinkly. He looks just radiant and beautiful at the moment. And that drug is just taking his body into a beautiful, happy place. Beautiful, happy place.
Cocooned. We had a Shetland stallion called Patrick, and there was nothing he wouldn't try and have a go off.
Yeah? He's not a diving champion, is he?
No, that's true. I'm so excited that we're coming to Wagga. Doug Anthony All-Stars, last time we were in Wagga, it was, well, the police will know, but and we're sorry about that. But that won't happen again. But we just had such a good time. It's such a great community, a great area, so much fun.
The thing is, a lot of people don't understand. We were the NRL of our day.
the NRL of comedy. I'm trying to work out.
Oh, well, yeah, they were the NRL of comedy back in the day. We were the ones that causing all the troubles, all the things they couldn't explain.
Actually, thinking about it, you see, you guys finished, and then all the off-field dramas and troubles started in rugby league.
Exactly.
You know,
we still can't find our premiership comedy rings from 1985. They all went missing.
Have you checked any second-hand stores in Darwin? I think they've got a habit of turning up in places like that.
I think that's where they are. Yeah.
Our necks are slender, but our father faxes, they were thick.
He's still there. He's still on the happiness drug.
I said in the introduction that I didn't know what was going to happen here, and here we are 12 minutes later, and I've been lost for about 9 of them, I think. It is the Doug Anthony All-Stars on ABC Riverina Mornings, talking to me, Chris Coleman. How hard has it been to put the show together? You know, is the material from days gone by, the songs and so on from days gone by, are they still fresh and still vibrant, or have you had to come up with a whole heap of new musical stuff?
Oh, the songs still stand up. They're about the only part of the show that does.
Can stand up.
No, we're doing a couple of the old songs. We've also thrown in some new material. Obviously, with the All-Stars, one of the big things back in the day was the ad-libbing, and we still, of course, just we talk a hell of a lot. So that's the enjoyable part of the show, making comment about what's going on in the world at the moment. But certainly the old songs are scrubbing up a treat, because this is the first time as a group that we've actually had a guitarist that can play guitar. So it makes I've discovered that it makes an enormous difference to the actual quality of the songs.
Will he be coming to Wagga as well? Because I need some lessons, real bad.
Got to work out that G. You'll find
the F is hard.
the F is quite hard. But you'll find many of the old All-Star songs are basically G, 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 and they just sound entrancing and enthralling and like musical pieces, because basically I have a beautiful voice, like the sweet honey of a meadowlark, and that convinced a lot of people that we had songs, but really they were just a chance.
So you took the essence of status quo, the 3-chord thing, and just refined it down to 1 chord.
They are like Beethoven to us.
I still get confused when they change to the 3rd chord. It's like, well, that's not necessary.
That last song you heard, that only has 2 chords. That was pushing us to the very limit of our musical ability. That one, G and E minor. Yeah, but now we have someone who can play. He can play. Go and play him something. Yeah. Yeah, the man can shred. Listen to that.
That was good.
Yeah. Maybe you can just run something in there from someone shredding from YouTube or something.
Hey, of all the guitarists...
Are we going live? Just run something in from YouTube there to make it seem like he's better than he is. If you could possibly do that, Chris, that'd be great.
Put something of mine from YouTube on.
Yeah, something of he's shredding.
We'll work something out. Yeah. But I mean, look, of all the guitar licks that I've ever had on the program, that was certainly one of them. So, I appreciate that.
Everyone's a comedian.
Yeah, no.
No, you're right there, Chris. You're not. Anyway.
Is the physical aspect of the shows still an element there? I remember one of you getting stapled in the forehead at one stage.
Yeah, that was supposed to be not happening.
Yeah, I know it was supposed to not happen, but it did happen, and it was very, very funny.
Oh my God, you came to see DAAS Capital, as you're saying that? So you're talking about when Richard got the staple in the head?
Yes.
Okay, that's one of the reasons he didn't want to come back to the group. And really, that was my fault. So, partly my fault. And for the people listening, it's a very long story, but I'll try and truncate it because I understand it's not a long drive to work in Wagga. So, basically,
it's getting longer by the minute here.
You can always pull off to the side of the road there. Basically, there was a scene where I, as a protagonist, was meant to be sticking some butterflies onto a wall with a staple gun, and then I was meant to walk past Richard Fiedler, the guitarist at the time, and staple a comic book to his head. Now, the staple gun that I had did not have staples in it, and I had one that had staples in it, one that didn't have staples in it. So the first time I go by, I'm stapling things up, and the next time I go back, I have a staple gun that doesn't have staples in it, and that's the one I meant to use on Richard's head. But because Richard wept a lot when the staple gun without the stapler hit him in the forehead, there was a bit of confusion when I swapped ends and picked up the wrong staple gun with the staples in it, and went along stapling things, and then got to Richard's head and poof, and drove a staple right into his bonce, which meant that he had to pull away the comic book that was now stuck to his head. And as he pulled it away, he was weeping again, like he often did. And I said, "Stop it, grow up! You know, you're never going to be a man with that sort of attitude." As two little trickles of blood ran down from his forehead, which was quite sweet. The side of this story that many people don't understand is that our props genius at the ABC, a guy Aaron Beaucaire, who's now passed on, wonderful man. He was insisting that we use a pneumatic staple gun, which means if we'd done it with a pneumatic staple gun, Richard's head would have been all over the back of the set.
As it was with a real stapler, it went straight into his forehead, missing his brain by 6 inches.
The brain was actually cowering right back at the very back of the brain pan. It was right. It was just hiding back there. It was very timid. Yeah, it has a lot of movement around there. You could often hear it rattling. If you'd been up and it was
Surrounded by a lot of fluid.
normally there's a lot of fluid, but it's just dry old brain anyway. Rich, for some reason, and I sometimes think that these people that get hurt a lot, they do it to themselves. They call it upon themselves. So I don't feel any guilt or remorse in regards to that situation, but I do feel grateful that we weren't using a pneumatic stapler, because that would have been, oh gee, that's hard to do a good comedy line after that sort of moment.
Having filled in ABC occupational health and safety paperwork for minor incidents, I can only begin to imagine.
Oh man, we caught fire. One of Hollywood's greatest scriptwriters at the moment, he was
blown up,
burned his back and made deaf in one ear. There were incidents of wonder on that show that of real life endangerment, not just for the All Stars, but for many of the crew as well.
Because to the Doug Anthony All Stars, safety isn't just
He's gone again. There we go. That's the tech fedora kicking in.
It really is. It isn't just a rule, it's an option. So don't get too close to us. But you've seen these accidents happen in action, Chris Coleman.
Yeah.
You've seen it up close. You know what it's like. It's not safe up there. I'm sitting in a wheelchair just because I'm thinking ahead.
And very scarily, I've bought my tickets to the show already, and I'm far too close to the stage for my own good. But that's another story. I mentioned to some people in their early 20s the day that I'd bought my tickets to your show that I'd bought my tickets, and they just looked blankly at me. Who are the Doug Anthony All-Stars? I tried to explain it to them. In the end, I'll probably just wind up buying them some tickets and getting them to come along. But if I was to ask that as a final question here, how do you...
Oh, don't say it's over, Chris.
Oh, well... No,
don't say it's over. It's been a cavalcade of fun, hasn't it?
We're having a great time. There's still some morning left.
I know there's still some morning left. Ironically, Richard Fiedler's on after 11, and he gets really shirty if we run late. So
we are trying to talk to the people of Riverina, the country's greatest employer of illegal Swedish immigrants, doing such great job for young people from Sweden outstaying their visas. What do they call them? Illegals? I don't think so. Not in Swedish.
I don't want to go on about Gimpy either. I don't want to start about Gympie and start that war again, the Gympie Wars. I don't want to start that with those damn bean pickers. I don't want to get into that bloody strife that we got into years ago.
Although I've got to admit, I do like a place that names itself after an adjective.
So, Chris, what did you want to say?
I got no idea. I was going to ask as a final question for anyone who perhaps has joined this mid interview and is wondering what on earth is going on here. How would you answer that question? You know, what are the Doug Anthony All-Stars? How do you define that?
It's a political movement that's not going anywhere.
A mere shadow of their former selves, I would say.
Yeah, comedy trio. Had a modicum of supreme fame and glory, which was squandered and spent on chips. But we're coming to Wagga. That's the thing. Like, the Doug Anthony All-Stars won't be told, particularly at the city boundaries. We won't be told at Wagga city limits that we can't come in.
It's like a hallucinatory Technicolor brain fart. I think that's what we're like. We get up there, and it's just the things you shouldn't be thinking. It's like something embarrassing is happening within your head. That it's not going anywhere. It's just happening like braingasm is what it is. Yeah,
wonderful.
It's a beautiful thing.
Wonderful. I would
You've got
ask...
to live it, man. You've got to live it. Those 20-year-olds got to come along and live the wonder.
Exactly.
They've got to see the glory.
Come along
And, a comedy festival in Wagga. A Wagga comedy festival, it's already funny. Just after you get past the "w," it's already funny.
It is going to be great fun to have you here. Hopefully we can catch up while you're in town. But to the three of you, thank you very much for having a chat with me on the radio this morning and for the song. Is there any chance of a short playoff of something from the classic Doug Anthony All-Stars book?
Yeah, let's do we're going to do this a bit later today, so we might as well get a crack at it. It's a song about dogs that... because it was quite controversial in its day, but we've now made it sort of more PC and sweetened it up for the people of Australia. So if you
This
can
could be
bear
the
with us
last
just for a
thing
second.
I ever do on radio.
Okay, it's been good knowing you, Chris.
Every day is the last thing you'll do on radio. As fruit pickers say, bort, bort, bort.
By the way, this is likely to be the bit of the interview where adult themes come into play. So if you don't like adult themes, turn your radio off and come back for the news in 3 minutes at 11 o'clock.
I love dogs in the park after dark when the moon is up high in the sky. The Great Dane is too tall, Chihuahuas are too small, but the dog that I like to quell lonely nights, well, the Dachshund is best of all, 'cause he is longer than he's thin. He loves to let me in. His eyes swell with love. He fits like a glove, and that's why he's man's best friend. I love dogs.
He loves dogs.
I love dogs.
We love dogs.
We all love dogs in the park.
And the
She loves dogs.
She loves dogs.
She loves dogs.
She loves dogs.
We all love dogs in the park. He's got bed bugs, tits and nits. If he scratches, then I itch. But the kennel is cramped, and though he's a scamp, life with the dog is a ooh. You'll never be alone if you give the dog a bone. I'm not weird, we don't kiss, but the problem is this: his bark. Oh.
Verbal solo.
Is worse than his bite. Sha la 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 la. Sha la 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 la. I love dogs in the park after dark when the moon is up high in the sky and I'm not proud.
Thanks, fellas. Really appreciate it.
Hey, see you soon.